Hey everybody, so yesterday I asked the question and tried to answer of who is going to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Well, today it's time to do the West, and there are more teams involved still in it in the mix out west than there are in the East, but so I'm going to try and not have this video be like 20 minutes long, so I'm going to try and go through it kind of quick, but let's just get down right to it and get to the point. So I'm calling Vegas, San Jose, Winnipeg, Nashville as already in the playoffs, because it would take, some of them have already clinched playoff spots, the rest it would take a monumental collapse for them not to make the playoffs. So they're in. So the team with the most points that I'm still not completely locking in yet, even though, spoiler, they're going to make it, is Minnesota. They already have 90 points. They have 9 games remaining. And I'm going to do this pretty much the same way as I did with the East yesterday. Look at their remaining schedule, call the game a toss-up, loss, or a win, and see how they end up. So Minnesota has a very difficult schedule the rest of the way. Luckily for them, they already have 90 points. They have Nashville, Boston, Nashville again, Dallas, Edmonton, Anaheim, LA, and San Jose. That schedule is no joke. They would be in big trouble if they weren't already at 90 points and have, a pretty solid footing in a playoff spot. Because they could rack up a lot of losses here, especially playing, Nashville twice, a desperate Dallas team twice, and then a West Coast road trip to California to finish out the year against the 3 California teams. So Nashville, I'm calling the Minnesota's home game against Nashville a toss-up. Calling Boston a toss-up. Boston's a really good team, but they're riddled with injuries right now, just trying to get healthy for the playoffs. The game in Nashville, I'll mark that as a loss. The 2 Dallas games, toss-ups. Minnesota's better than Dallas, but Dallas is absolutely desperate for points right now, and if they have any chance of getting in the playoffs, they need to win games against teams like Minnesota. Edmonton will call a win, and then the 3-game California trip, we'll call them all toss-ups. They probably don't win all 3. They probably won't lose all 3 either. So that's only one game that I see as a pretty much certain win the rest of the way, but only one game that I see that they're probably going to lose, and that's the game in Nashville. So that's 7 toss-up games for the rest of the way. Now, Minnesota is already in good position. All they need to do is go 4-4-1 over their last 9 games. That gets them 99 points, and that will be enough to finish 3rd in the Central Division and easily make the playoffs. So Minnesota is in very good shape. Even if they don't get to 99 points, they're still in good shape. They're going to have to get down into the 95, 94 range to be in trouble for missing the playoffs. I don't see that happening. I think they're all right. Right now, the 3rd place team in the Pacific Division are the LA Kings. They have 89 points, but they've played a lot of games. They only have 7 left. Their remaining schedule not nearly as difficult as Minnesota's. They have Edmonton, Calgary, Arizona, Anaheim, Colorado, Minnesota, and Dallas. Edmonton, that should be a win. Calgary, that should be a win. Arizona, that should be a win. Anaheim, it's a toss-up anytime those 2 teams play. Fantastic game and rivalry, too. Colorado will call a toss-up. Minnesota's a toss-up, and Dallas is a toss-up. So I don't see any real guaranteed loss on the schedule there for LA. There's no game I look at and go, they're going to lose that game. I do see 3 games that they definitely should win. Their next 3, all bottom-feeding Pacific Division teams. And then they have 4 toss-ups. So if they win those 3 games that they should, that's another 6 points. That gets them to 95. And then all they have to do is win one of those toss-up games to get to 97. And 97 should be good enough to get them into the playoffs. So, LA, I think, makes it. The question is, do they get the 3rd spot in the Pacific, or are they a wild card team? That's really the only thing left to decide. I do think they get in. The first wild card team right now, Colorado. Huge surprise this year. They were the laughingstock of the league last year, and they've really surprised everyone this year and are in good playoff position. Then the first wild card spot with 88 points with 8 games remaining. And their remaining schedule is Vegas, Philly, Chicago, Anaheim, LA, San Jose, another, playing those 3 California teams in a row, and then they finish up with St. Louis. So we'll say they split the Vegas games. They win the home game, lose the game in Vegas. There's 1-1. Philly's a toss-up. Chicago they should beat. Anaheim, LA, and San Jose, we'll call them toss-ups, and then a toss-up at home against this desperate St. Louis team. So they come out. I see 2 games that they definitely should win there. 5 toss-ups, and only 1 real game that I look at and go, they're probably going to lose that, and that's the game in Vegas. So I definitely think that they can get to 96 points. All they need to do is win. One win gets them to. They need to win 4 more games to get to 96 points. I think they can do it. All they have to do is go 4-4, 500 hockey over the last remaining games. They might do better than that, but they're probably going to the playoffs. It would be difficult for them to drop out now. One of the teams below them, like Dallas or St. Louis, would have to really go on a run and really take the spot away. The second wild card team, who is in exactly the same shape as Colorado, is Anaheim. 88 points, 8 games remaining. They're in a dead tie right now. Their remaining games, they have Winnipeg, Edmonton, Vancouver, LA, Colorado, Minnesota, Dallas, and Arizona. This is not a bad schedule to end the year for them. I think Winnipeg's probably a loss, but then Edmonton and Vancouver are both games they should win. LA's a toss-up anytime those 2 teams meet. Colorado's a toss-up. Minnesota and Dallas, they're pretty much either team can win that game, and then Arizona they should win. So, 3 wins. 3 wins gets them to 94 points. Then they have 4 toss-up games and only 1 that I think they're going to lose. If they win 2 of those 4 toss-up games, that gets them to 98 points. If Anaheim gets to 98 points, that puts them past LA, who I have finishing with 97, which bumps Anaheim up into the 3rd spot in the Pacific Division, and LA into the 1st wild card spot, and Colorado into the last wild card spot. So that's how I see that shaping out. It's not a guarantee. Teams can lose games they should win. Teams can beat teams they maybe shouldn't. But that's the way I see it shaping out, which would put Anaheim against San Jose in the 1st round and LA against Vegas, which would, I think, be best case scenario at this point for the Western, for at least the Pacific Division side of the Western Conference playoffs. I think those would be a fantastic matchup. It looks like San Jose's locked into that 2nd spot at this point, so any hopes of an Anaheim versus LA first-round matchup are gone, which would be the perfect, ideal matchup. So LA versus Vegas will be really good, and Anaheim versus San Jose will be really good. That's how I see that shaping out, and that's kind of how I hope it shapes out. Now, 2 teams left in it that could still sneak into the playoffs and really bust things up. Calgary is not one of them. Calgary is done. 4-game losing streak, still at 80 points. They've gone cold at the absolute worst time of the year. They're 8 points out of a spot with less than 10 games remaining. I don't see them making up 8 points. They're done. So St. Louis, they sit right now with 85 points with 9 games remaining. That 9 games is important. That's one more than a lot of these teams who have 8 left. So, their remaining games, they have Vancouver, Columbus, San Jose, Vegas, Arizona, Washington, Chicago twice, and Colorado. It's going to take a lot for them to make the playoffs. They're going to need to win a lot of games. I see Vancouver as a win, Columbus as a toss-up, San Jose and Vegas will count as losses, Arizona's a win, Washington's a loss, the 2 Chicago games they should win, Chicago stinks this year, and Colorado we'll call a toss-up. So that ends up with 4 wins, 3 losses, and 2 toss-ups. If they win 4 games, that's 8 more points. That gets them to 93. And then if they win one of those toss-up games, they get to 95. 95 is still 1 point behind Colorado. Not good enough to get into the playoffs. They miss by a point. However, if they win both of those toss-up games or somehow pull out a win in one of these games I have them losing, then they get to 97 points and they surpass Colorado, and Colorado misses the playoffs. So it's certainly not impossible for St. Louis to get into the playoffs by any means, but they're going to need to really rip off some wins here and go on a bit of a streak and basically beat Colorado for the last spot, and that's going to be difficult to do. I don't really think it's going to happen, but it is possible. And then the team below St. Louis, Dallas, they have 84 points right now with only 8 games left. They're probably not getting in. They have Boston, Vancouver, Philly, Minnesota, San Jose, Anaheim, and then LA. Another West Coast California trip to end the season. I don't know what a lot of these central teams have that, it seems. But anyway, going to be very difficult for this team to make the playoffs. Now, I don't see a lot of guaranteed losses in this. There's not a lot of these games I look at and go, they're going to lose that game, because they are absolutely desperate for points right now. They should be playing desperate, and that playing desperate allows you to win some games that maybe you shouldn't. So, I'm calling Vancouver a win, because Vancouver really isn't good, and the rest of the games are all toss-ups. Now, if they have 84 points now, if they win 4 of those 7 toss-ups and the game that they're supposed to win against Vancouver, that only gets them to 94 points. That's not good enough to get in, because I think the bare minimum to get in is going to be 96 and maybe 97. So, unless they somehow win, like 7 of their last 8 games or something like that, Dallas is probably all done. So, the big question out west, I think, is does Colorado or St. Louis make it? I think Colorado makes it. They've been playing really good hockey. Nathan MacKinnon is having an MVP-type season. But St. Louis is not completely out of it, especially because they have some very winnable games left on their schedule. And I wouldn't put it past them to really rally at the end of the season and get that 97th point that's good enough to make it. So that's the way I see it going. I think the teams that are in the playoffs now are going to be the teams that make it. I think Anaheim overtakes LA for the 3rd spot in the Pacific, giving us matchups of Vegas versus LA, Anaheim versus San Jose, and then in the Central you'll have Nashville playing Colorado, and Winnipeg playing Minnesota. That's the way I see it working out. St. Louis is the team to watch as a spoiler to jump in and ruin someone's day, but they're going to have to win a lot of games for that to happen, and that's going to be tough for them to do. And Dallas, I think, is pretty much done unless they really go on a run here, and Calgary is straight up out of it. So that's what I think. Things can change, different things can happen, but just looking at the schedule and where teams sit now, that's what my prediction for who's going to make the playoffs out west. So thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow Off the Wall Hockey on social media and check out our website. The links are in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.